This is After the Final Rose with Dante and Alana, a siblings podcast talking everything Bachelor and Bachelorette. Welcome back to another episode of After the Final Rose with Alana and Dante, a siblings podcast. Last night was definitely an interesting episode, and we're going to break it all down for you. And it all starts off with the 2-on-1 we saw in last week's episode between MJ and Jasenia, and things started to get heated between the two.
Yeah, shit went down with those two. I honestly was pretty impressed that Jasenia held her own. I thought MJ was just losing it and she was breaking down. I just thought it was funny that when Victoria, Anna, and now MJ were called out and they all of a sudden are having a panic attack, they're freaking out, they're crying, they don't feel good. It's like you're just caught. There's no better way to put it, but you were caught and now you're trying to make it look like you're the victim when you're not. And I'm not gonna lie, I really was scared that Matt wasn't gonna believe her. But as we saw, he clearly believed Jasenia. And I truly think it was because Jasenia just was so straight faced. She told it like it was, and there was no drama attached to it, no big theatrics. And he probably was just like, all right, I think this girl's telling the truth.
Oh yeah, and when he talked to MJ, she was like, I think she started crying, but she was like, you could tell she was putting on a scene, and like you said, when Jasenia was telling him, it was just all serious and straight to the point. And I think Matt's ended up seeing through MJ's BS, but at the same time, you could see that. I mean, he was he didn't know what to believe. And I don't think he had a connection with either. So I wasn't going to be surprised if he just sent both of them home.
I know. I was wondering if he was going to send both of them home.
He hasn't really built a connection with either of them. So, and I don't see either of them winding up with him. So he shouldn't have wasted their time. Just send both of them home. But with MJ, she just keeps denying the truth. And we talked about it a lot last week, but she was center stage for all of the quote unquote bullying this season, saying OGs, JV squad, and just talking down on all the girls. And she continues to deny it. And that's what is annoying. And I hope she's watching it back this week and seeing that she's completely wrong, because she is. I think, and we've seen it.
She definitely has two personalities, and we saw it when she was in her oh my god, what are they called? Not like cameo, but when they are off camera and they have their little interview. She literally was like, I had a weak bitch moment, sorry, that wasn't me. And then she gets back to this big tough guy, bad, like a bad girl. And I was just like, why are you Jasenia was right. You have three different personalities. You have one for the cameras, one for Matt, and one for us. And she proved that for sure last night. So I was happy Matt sent her home. Of course, even though she got sent home, we still had continued drama, which I'm not surprised. But I did feel bad because that whole thing ended up causing Matt to just cancel the cocktail party and excuse me, go straight to the rose ceremony and just be like, you know what, I don't want to continue talking to these girls and have more drama, which I understand.
I feel like at the same time, it's set up because we're starting to see it way more common in these past couple seasons. But how did those conversations with MJ and Jasenia completely wear you out to not want to go talk to the other girls that night? That's what I just don't understand. And I feel like maybe if it was somebody where you had a strong connection with and you were really fighting yourself, what should I do? What should I do? But it was MJ and Jasenia, where I don't even think they're in the top 8 right now in terms of who I see with Matt. So
we don't know. That conversation could have lasted a couple hours. who knows? We only get snippets of it, but I mean, it could have been longer.
Yeah.
And he may have truly went into it, like Chris Harrison said. He just knew who he wanted to send home and who he
Yeah.
wanted to keep, and maybe he was just like, honestly, I don't really feel like doing a cocktail party. Maybe he wasn't exhausted, but
Yeah.
he's got to just like give a reasoning behind it.
Which I
But
get. If you're all set and you know who you are sending home, you don't need the
right, like
cocktail
move
party.
on.
Yeah, you can. Don't waste your time. Hand out the roses. I don't think any conversation would help you at that point in terms of the
Right.
girls. But I don't know. But we did
Excuse me.
obviously get the
Ooh.
rose ceremony, and um, it's I believe right was it right before the rose ceremony is where Serena started to get angry with Kate.
I think a little bit because well, when Chris Harrison comes in and tells them, she does call out Katie and she's like, well, this is your fault. You stirred up the drama. But then we don't see her really attack Katie until
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. But when they go into the rose ceremony, Serena is stays, which I was shocked. I thought
Yeah.
he would have at least kept Ryan or Brittany. Like I feel like he had more of a connection with those two than he did with Serena. So I was really annoyed that she stayed. But um afterwards, after she stays and everything, I think it was like the next morning where they're waiting for the date cards to come, and those
Mm-hmm.
two like address each other. Serena like goes to Katie's room to talk to her, and I just don't think, like, I think we saw Katie get a little more angrier than we usually do, so I was a little nervous for her. But
Yeah.
i I don't think that she's in the wrong. I just feel like Serena, I don't know, Katie stand her own again,
Oh
and
no, she definitely
Serena just
did.
looked like an idiot.
Serena did look like an idiot, and the I don't like that she has an issue that Katie like stood up for other people. Like, what do you want her to do? Just sit
Yeah.
back and let all this like crap and the bullying go down? Like, I was I thought it was a baseless argument on Serena's
Yeah.
part, and Katie stood her own and fought back. And she, I loved when like Katie just started to raise her voice and she was screaming at her.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because it's ridiculous that and you know what just showed how much of a liar and how I don't know the right word, but Serena went back to the girls afterwards and literally told them, "Oh, Katie said she's not here for Matt," or she said something, and Katie was like, "No,
right?
I didn't. That's not what I said." She was like, "Well, you made that very clear," and she was like, "But I didn't say those words. Like, I am here for Matt." So
Mm-hmm.
you could tell that like Serena is taking everything Katie says and just fabricating it and bringing it back to the girls to make Katie look like the bad guy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I just wish that like one of the girls would have stood up for
Stood up.
Katie and just been like, Serena, you were kind of in the middle of it. Like we all were. Let's just move past this. Like
Mm-hmm.
Katie's just trying to make peace and whatever. But Justinia was just like, let's just not let this affect us. And I was like, someone stand up for
Yeah.
her. Like she's the only one that is defending all these girls and making like this toxic environment, which we're going to see next week in the you see in the previews. They're like
Mm-hmm.
bullying Heather.
Yeah. And I think it was Kit. She didn't say it directly into the group, but she said something in the side interview, how something about Serena and how her argument just wasn't valid. But it was quick. But really nobody stood up for Katie, which I wasn't a fan of. And
No,
the thing with Serena is that I don't think, like, thinking about it, I don't think we've like ever seen her and Matt together. Like
no,
literally,
we
I don't
haven't
know
seen
how
a
she's
connection
come
at
this far.
all.
No. And so I just don't know how she is this far. And then
Yeah.
starting a basis argument with Katie is it's just pointless.
It
But
makes me think,
I'll keep going.
sorry, it makes me think that she is here because of producers. She's not here because of a connection with Matt, because she is clearly like the only one left that will start drama.
Stir.
So maybe
Yeah.
they kept her purposely, because you're right. Like, why is she still here?
Yeah. I don't know. But the next sort of that day, with the argument, we did get a one-on-one with Piper, which I was actually
Yep.
excited about. She's one of my favorites. One of my favorites this season. We haven't really got
Yeah.
to know her too much, but she did get a nice little cute date with Matt, and it starts off with them walking through the woods, and it's really dark, and they hit a light switch and a whole, it's like carnival. The lights
Hmm.
turn on. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like that. I was happy we got a date with her because I feel like she's one of the ones that she does have a connection with Matt, and we've seen it like on group dates or in little interviews, but we
Hmm.
haven't seen just a one-on-one for them. So, I was definitely happy to see that. It was really cute. They got like some good alone time. That's the kind of date I would want, I think, is like having an entire arcade, or not arcade,
Oh yeah,
carnival with games and food and rides and all that, just us. Like that's
yeah.
awesome. And then I think afterwards they went to like have a little dinner or something. And
Yep.
then an artist showed up, or a band showed up to play for them. And we got to, see a little bit more of Piper in that, and just them talking about how like they both want to start opening up more to each other. And that's like something that they've struggled with in past relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was hoping. Oh, we got a good amount from Piper, but I wish we were to get more. She opened up
Yeah.
about like her, what you just said, like with her feelings, but she didn't open up too much about her past and like
Yeah.
her
A lot of
history,
these
which I
girls
kind of,
haven't.
they haven't. And I was hoping she did that because I think that would go a long way with her relationship with Matt.
Yeah.
Um, but I continue to like Piper after this date. I can see her with Matt. She is 23 and Matt's 29, but they just have a lot of
They do look
similarities,
cute
and
together.
they do. They do. And you
Hmm.
could see that when they were on the carnival rides and just being together, that there was something there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Then we have the group date, which was a bowling. And it was all the girls except for Katie and Piper because they get the one-on-ones.
Yep.
And it was so cute. Another date that I would have really liked to be on. Matt had all
Uh-huh.
this food and they were bowling. Of course, they like team up the girls, a blue team and a pink team, and whichever team wins is going to get like the
Mm-hmm.
after cocktail party with him. But what I've noticed is a lot of these group dates, they really aren't like spending a lot of time with Matt. Like I feel like in past when there were things like they would be more involved, the Bachelor or Bachelorette
Yeah.
in the date. Like even with Tasha, like she was the painting date, like she was actually painting with them. Like we saw Matt maybe bowl a little, but I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that we got really much. But anyways, even though we didn't get to see like a lot of Matt interacting in the actual day, we do get to see it afterwards with the um little cocktail hour. But it was a cute date. Obviously I think the pink team won, blue team, pink team won. And they
The
get
pink
to
team, I
have,
believe.
yeah, they get to have extra time with Matt, which I thought was poor. I think it's Rachel and Abby have been now on every losing team.
Everyone, yeah.
And so they were like, great, again, we don't get to go, which I felt bad for them.
I know.
But I was wondering, so Kit's smart. She's young
Yes.
and very mature, and she's very smart. And she got into Matt's head and was like, "Oh, come on, like you can bring us along too. Like we got to go all the way home and sit home." And he was like, "I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, they won." And I thought he was about to be like, "Oh no, you guys, you know what? You're right. You guys come," because we've seen it in the past. Like they've been able to just be like, "I decided everyone can go." And
Uh-huh.
so, of course, they're like crying over it. And then they get a knock on the door that after walking all the way back home after bowling, they get told they get to come back. So here comes
Mm-hmm.
like the more drama with the girls.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you specifically said it, but I think she said something to Matt along the lines of, "What do you need a bowler as a wife?" And
Oh, yeah.
he was just like, I'm sorry." And
Yeah.
I was watching it with some of my friends who have never seen the show, and they were just like, "This girl's a savage." Like he got in his head, or she got in his head.
Totally.
Yeah. And also, I wanted to mention with the group date is those girls were so bad at bowling.
Yeah.
I think there were like two of them. Like I know Michelle hit a couple. Strikes and Serena P, but the rest were horrible. So I was thinking that score was made up, because if they were getting in the bunker every time, there's no way they got in the high 400s.
Yeah, seriously. I'm actually not a bad bowler, and I don't think I've ever even gotten that high. So
well, it's all that their scores added together, but still,
oh, okay,
that's like
yeah,
90 each, and I doubt it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would have done good on that date. I would have loved a bowling date.
But I was going to say they did go into the night portion. Like you said, the other girls that lost were invited to join the girls, and they were pretty confused at first. And I liked how Matt came in and kind of said, I did know they were coming. I did invite them, because nobody addressed it, and nobody was like, we were asked to come. So if I were those girls, I'd be thinking, oh, these girls are just showing up and interrupting our date.
I feel like they had to know it was they were told, because it was the whole group of girls and it wasn't just one of them showing up. So they probably just assumed when they saw all of them, like, oh, he invited all of them. But of course, this just like raises flags for all the girls, because now they think that they're getting like more alone time. And then of course, each person now add on all these 4 or 5 other girls. They're going to now cut into that time. I think that Rachel is the only girl that has said that they are falling for Matt, and Matt has said something back along the lines of, I feel the same way.
Yes, in terms of saying it back, I remember somebody saying in last episode, because I think we talked about it. Might have been
Kit. A couple people have said it. I think Kit said it. Yes. Then last night, I don't know if I know Piper maybe said it. I know Serena P said it. So all these girls are saying it, but I think that Rachel's the only one that he's said it back, or at least been like, hey, I feel the same way towards you.
Yeah.
But Michelle gets the rose for that date, which I don't know. I didn't really think anything special of a date for any of those girls.
I didn't think so either.
I thought maybe he'd give it to someone who hasn't had it yet, but so to kind of touch on this, because we're getting snippets of it throughout the episode, but we didn't address yet that Heather, who is from Colton season, shows up, and she claims that Hannah told her that she had this friend for her that she needed to meet. They'd be perfect together. She never took her up on it. And so once she found out that Matt was going to be a bachelor, she was like, shoot, I can't let this guy get married and never have met him. So I highly doubt she's never like met him, because he knew exactly who she was. But Chris pretty much is like, we can't do that because we're all quarantining and like we're in the middle of a pandemic. So he lets her quarantine and tells her, go back to your hotel and we'll kind of see what we can do. So they show you like her in quarantine throughout the episode, which I personally think that she probably wasn't really quarantined at that time. I feel like they already had her quarantined.
Oh, yes.
And we're planning on bringing her on. So I think at this point she still hasn't showed up yet, but she has, showed us that she's bored in quarantine. She wants to meet Matt. She's ready to meet Matt, all this stuff. And then we get to,
I just don't know how I feel about that, her coming in. It seems a little, I wouldn't say scripted, because I don't think it's Bachelor production, because I just don't think they would have thought of that themselves.
Yeah.
And if anything, they would have picked somebody better, like somebody more well known. It just felt a little scripted on Heather's part, in my opinion.
Well, maybe she wanted to go on this season and they were already had all their girls, and then they were like, well,
maybe
wait, why don't we bring you on later, like halfway through the season?
Yeah, that could have been it. I just felt like the timing was definitely interesting on her part, coming in when there's only like 10 girls. I mean, obviously she wouldn't know, but the question it raises, is she trying to stay relevant? Is she trying to get on Paradise? Like, I don't know. Does she want to be the next Bachelorette?
Yeah, so Nick Vial tweeted something last night that I thought was so on point. He wrote either Heather just wanted to be on TV or Hannah Brown's a terrible friend for not giving her Matt's number. Because clearly,
Fair
like,
enough.
if she's your best friend and you wanted to like meet him, you could have easily gone on a date with him or met him. So
Yeah,
I really do think Heather is just trying to be on TV.
probably. That it's just too random. I mean, I get that
Yeah.
her and Hannah are friends, but like you had all this time
Yeah.
before, and especially since I'm pretty sure Hannah, Tyler, and Matt like all lived in the same house like
Yeah, they
through
did all
like the
summer.
first 4 of quarantine.
Once a quarantine.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. It just seems like she's trying to get on camera.
Yeah, no, I agree. But before he has a one-on-one with Katie, we get to see him and Tyler have like a little friend moment where he just talks to Tyler about his experience so far and tells him that he's about to go on a date with Katie. And I was super happy that we got to see Tyler again because we haven't seen much of him on TV at all. I'm hoping that maybe he'll be on Paradise or bring him back for a future Bachelor.
I definitely think he'll be on Paradise. I was excited. I think everybody was excited to finally see Tyler again because we would have likely gotten Tyler on Paradise this past summer, but obviously we didn't get Paradise with COVID. So I think unless he finds love before then, I can almost bet he will be on Paradise this year.
Yeah,
unless they're saving him for The Bachelor, which they could. Which you would know they would know by Paradise. But I would love to see him on there. I think he deserves a chance. I think Tyler's a great guy, and I loved how they brought him in to talk to Matt.
Yeah, me too.
If you don't know, they are roommates. Where they live. I think they're in Florida right now or New York City.
Well, they lived in New York City before the pandemic hit.
Yes.
And then I think they went back to Florida. Tyler's mom died, and they were living on the beach because why not? I mean, you're stuck in quarantine. You might as well go somewhere warm.
Yeah. So I was excited to see Tyler, and they incorporated him a little bit in the date. So Katie did get this second one-on-one date this week, and they show up to a spa, and I'm sure Katie's thinking, "Oh, we're gonna get a spa day. It's gonna be fun." But Matt tells her that they're going to mess with Tyler, and he's there on the date, but Tyler does not know. And so Tyler's set up to get a massage, and production has paid an actress to give the massage to him, and Katie and Matt are going to talk in the actress's ear and tell her everything to do and to mess with Matt or to mess with Tyler.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was really funny. I agree that I thought it was like a good date for Katie, but if that was my date, I'd be kind of annoyed because you're not really getting, I mean, you kind of are getting to know her on a funny side, but I don't know. It was just not like a date. It seemed more of a friend zone date, which we clearly see later on, but I thought it was funny.
I just don't think there's anybody else but Katie you could take on that date, because we've already seen Katie is like, how do I say this? One, she's like comfortable with who she is and that she's not afraid to, mess around, and like we saw that her coming in on the first day. And so I just thought this was a perfect day for Katie. I mean, it's not the best day. It's not what you want to go on, but I think that was the perfect for those two.
Yeah, no, I agree. So after they they spent the whole time in her ear or whatever. It was so funny. I love that she was like, picks up the phone and is talking to Katie and it's just like, oh my God, I'm giving a massage to Tyler C. He's so hot. But once they go in there and meet Tyler, Katie gets to meet him and everything. They then move on to like a dinner date, which was nice because I was like, I hope, oh my God, excuse me, I keep yawning. I hope she gets at least some one-on-one with him afterwards. It's like in a romantic setting. Um,
Yeah, I was looking forward to finally getting one-on-one time with Katie and actually learning more about her because she's been one of my favorites this season, and she's been one of the only real people on this cast, and we really didn't get that. Like, we didn't get a lot
yeah.
about her past, who she is. She did talk about one of her past relationships. It lasted about 3 years. I believe she said she thought he was going to be the one, but things didn't work out. And obviously, she's here now. But I just felt like we
Yeah.
didn't get enough from her. And I think Matt was waiting. I think what he did with her going forward all depended on what she was how much she was going to open up and how much he would be able to relate and form a relationship with her.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird because they were having a good night, and I was not expecting her to go home in the sense.
Yeah.
But you could kind of tell while she was talking about herself and giving like her whole spiel of past relationships, like he was just very uninterested in the conversation and he looked bored. But then he grabbed the rose, so I thought, okay, he is giving it to her, like she's not going home. And then just totally took a 360 and decided not to keep her.
I was very disappointed that he picked up the rose and didn't keep her because
that's confusing.
You in those 2 seconds you instill a lot of confidence, not confidence, but security that she is staying in her eyes, and then to be like, I'm sending you home, and then put down the rose. I was not I wasn't a fan of that move. I feel like he should have left the rose on the table and just said it to her.
No, I agree.
But I loved Katie, and I wish she could have been there longer because she, like I said, she is one of the only, or at least we've seen, like, good people in the house that have stood up for everybody else, and we see that she's real with the camera, with Matt, with the girls, and so she was one of my favorites this season.
I would have liked to see her reaction to Heather joining and how the girls treat her. Yeah. And I think that because Katie's not there, we are going to have kind of like a shit show. Because she was the only like neutral civil ground for these girls.
Yeah.
But I was mad that, I mean, when they came back, obviously, when they sent a producer to get her bag, of course, like you just get, by sending her home, you give Serena the thought that like she had a better relationship and connection, obviously, but I don't really think that's the case. But unfortunately, now she gets like this thought in her head that like she won when really she didn't.
Well, I think she might have not won for the time being, but knowing what we know now, which we can talk about in a little bit, she did not win, and Katie is going to be the winner in all of this.
Yeah, for sure. And then I was actually a little surprised that Katie didn't really have much to say to Matt. No. She was very quiet heading out. She ended it nicely, but she didn't really talk until she got into the car, and she was like talking to the cameras, about how she just was not expecting that. And she thought that there was more to the relationship, but I definitely thought that for someone who's been so vocal this season that she would say something to him, but
I think she had that sort of, I think she sort of had that Ben reaction from Tayshia season, where when Ben got sent home the first time, he was just completely shocked, and he like, didn't say a word. And then we saw Tayshia be like, I thought he would say more. So I think it's just a matter of her being shocked and completely not expecting to be sent home. And I'm sure after Matt picks up the rose, it even heightens it even more.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. So now, these girls are getting ready for a rose ceremony and cocktail party, and Heather is going to show up and see if Matt will give her the time of day. And the girls lose their shit. I thought it was hilarious that Heather drove herself. Like, she apparently rented a car, rented the minivan, and she drove herself to the lot or resort or lodge, wherever they were staying. But when she showed up, Piper was talking to Matt, and Heather came in and asked to talk to Matt, and Matt was cracking up laughing. Like, I think he thought it was a prank. And then of course, like Piper, we get to see like she loses her shit and runs out to the girls and is like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I thought it was really funny, Piper's reaction. But I think Matt was extremely confused. I'm very curious. Well, no, because I think his reaction shows it that they did not tell him that
no, I don't
Heather
think
was coming. And I also feel like his reaction sort of showed that, I mean, how do I say this? That he's not really interested in Piper.
No.
He was like,
I
mean, not Piper, sorry, Heather, sorry.
Like,
that he was just like, Heather.
Yeah, he was laughing, and he literally thought it was a joke.
I just don't know if I see that relationship going far.
I don't think he's going to keep her.
If it goes anywhere at all.
I think he's going to send her home because it's not like Chris Harrison brought her in and was like, hey, we have another girl for you. Like, she came in on her own. And I think he knows this isn't being forced like the 4 or 5 new girls were. So I hope that he tells her, like, I'm sorry, but I already have formed these relationships with all these girls. And I'm like, I don't think it's fair to them, and sends her home, because I truly don't think it's fair.
Oh, no, I don't either. And also you add on the fact that there's not much time left. And to put yourself in that, I guess, stance where you would have to make that decision if it's her in the end in about like 3 weeks time. So I just don't think there's enough time left for them to build a relationship. And I think Matt will know that, and also see everything you said. So I don't know. I don't see her going far. We also didn't really see her in any trailers going forward. I mean, obviously I think that'd be on purpose for production standpoint in terms of not spoiling anything. But I just don't know if I see her going far.
Yeah, I don't either. Hopefully she doesn't. I think if Matt doesn't send her home, these girls will send her home, because I think we are going to see true colors of all these girls right now. They're going to hit their breaking point. And we saw them bully the heck out of the other girls. So I will not be surprised if they bully her out of the house within the first night.
I can definitely see that happening. And it would be interesting if it's her choice, if she chooses to leave because these girls are pretty much destroying her and just going at her.
Yeah.
That would be something, because you come in you voluntarily yourself, and then you leave voluntarily.
Yeah.
In terms of like her coming in late.
Yeah. Hopefully she's not here. Hopefully Matt sends her home, whether it's before the cocktail or the rose ceremony or at the rose ceremony.
And that pretty much wrapped up this week's episode, but some other Bachelor/Bachelorette news. It's rumored but not confirmed. But an announcement's expected to come soon, whether it's who it is. But the Bachelorette, it's rumored that it is Katie, who we just saw get sent home this week. I believe Katie Thurston, I believe that's her last name. But she's expected to be named the next Bachelorette, which I would be really excited if all these rumors are true, because like I've been saying all episode, that she has been one of my favorites all season.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? In the beginning, I was really excited to have her, but you know what I realized last night is I will be curious how her season goes, because we really haven't learned too much about her. We don't know her story. We know that her dad passed away years ago. We know that she's a sweetheart, but that's really all we know. We don't know her. I mean, I think she has a great personality. She gets along well with some of the girls, but it'll be similar to Matt, where we truly don't know much about her, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing we didn't know much about Matt. So I hope that, like, if it's true and she is the Bachelorette, that she comes in with a great personality, because we just left Tasha, who we all know was one of the best bachelorettes. But I am excited, and I think that ABC just shows that they are against this bullying culture, and they want someone on the show who is like, they want to set an example for females to empower other females and to stick up for yourself and to stick up for others and not allow that to happen. And I think they set a great example. I know it's not been like fully announced, but when they do, I think everyone will be very, very happy with it. I mean, there are a couple other girls I would have liked, but they're still on.
Yeah. I would have liked Abigail, depending on it, how far she goes. I think she would have been a great bachelorette, and her story would have been amazing to build off of. But I think Katie's going to be a bachelorette like no other, because we haven't really seen anybody like her. Like she's different. She's like not afraid to just goof off in front of the cameras. We like I said, we saw that with her entrance, and also the amount of men contestants that come in on night one holding a sex toy, there's going to be a lot of them, just because they're all going to want to recreate her.
Yeah, it's like the windmill or yeah.
And I might be wrong, but I believe Katie will be the lowest placement bachelorette in history in terms of how quick she got sent home. I think she was the 11th person sent.
Because Rachel was
the 11th person left.
Rachel was in the bottom 4 when they announced her, right?
I think Lindsay, she was 4.
Yeah.
Hannah was 6. So Katie would be the 11th, and it's never been that like low of a person in terms of when they are sent home.
Okay, that makes sense. I also like, and I don't know if they're doing this purposely, but they went away from the really young bachelors and bachelorettes. Like Katie's 29, you know, so they are staying up there because I think they've just noticed the younger they are, the more drama and immature and stupid stuff goes on, to be honest.
Yeah. And some other news in the Bachelor world, apparently, or reports have come out that Peter Weber and Kelly are back together or working on their relationship. I am very curious. Well, timing, in my opinion, is very interesting, because there were reports she wanted to be the next Bachelorette. So I'm very curious if she found out she would not be the next Bachelorette, and then she went crawling back to Peter, wanting to rebuild that relationship.
Well, they're both still he moved to New York. She's still planning to move to New York. So they're going to be in the same city. I just think that they probably jumped the gun on announcing they were breaking up. Like, if it's true, the claims that like they're working on their relationship, they should have just let that be. Like, they don't need to make a public statement. But that could be the truth to it, that she was trying to be Bachelorette, and so she made this statement that she wasn't with him anymore.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, she sucks. I would have hated her as a Bachelorette.
Oh, definitely, especially after I just wasn't a fan of during Peter's season when she just talked down on the girls, and we saw that.
Oh, she was so conceited. She thought she was better than everyone when she was a lawyer.
Yep, and we saw that this season, just the girls talking down on girls, and then you see Katie rise to the top, and she is rumored to be the next Bachelorette. So it shows that ABC, they don't want you if you're, you know, rude, disrespectful, and just talking down on other contestants.
Yeah, we live in a culture now where like bullying is just not going to be accepted anymore. Katie is a great choice. I hope that it's not a rumor. I hope it's true. I cannot wait to see this Women Tell All that apparently they recorded where they announced it. It's going to be craziness. I do hope at Women Tell All that these girls, after watching this season, do take Katie's back. Because if they didn't see it then, you have to be seeing it now.
And at least I hope that is the case, because, and if anything, they can just roll back the tape, because it'll show it.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's no way you can defend yourself. But that is everything for this week's episode on The Bachelor. That we are starting to knock out girls we're starting to eliminate girls this season. And I believe we're down to 10 or 9. So hometowns are right around the corner. And soon enough, Matt could be engaged. So I'm excited for Matt and how the season is going to end. And then if it's true, Katie's season of The Bachelorette, I would also be excited for. So if you don't already, make sure you follow us on Instagram at ATFR_podcast, as well as on Google Podcasts, Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts and other podcast streaming platforms. Make sure to just subscribe to us on YouTube after the Final Rose with Alana and Dante. Turn on notifications so you know when we post. And we will see everybody next week.
Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.